All right. So as Vladimir said, my name is John Dukalel, and I'm the VP of Engineering at Hudl. Has anyone here ever heard of Hudl before? Okay. All right. Whoa. All right. Sweet. Yeah. Oftentimes that's not the case. So today I will talk a little bit about who Hudl is and our business and what we're all about. I'll talk a little bit about our system architecture, and then really what I'm here to talk about is how we use logs to help our customers. Yeah. So I'll kick it off with the Hudl story. This is our mission statement. We help teams and athletes win. I think it's a great mission statement because we actually know it and talk about it, and it's not just something on the wall. And the way that we do it is through technology. We're definitely a tech company. Video is kind of the core of everything we do, but more and more data and analytics that come out of that video is becoming increasingly important. It actually differs quite a bit by the sport of just how important data and analytics is, but we see that as a increasingly important part of our business. Hudl, like a lot of startups, it took us a little while to figure out market fit. We had to pivot once, but fast forward to today, and we're definitely having some success. Within American football, we're doing great, and we have customers in 35 different sports. We see each sport as kind of like its own separate business, its own different market. When we first got started, we didn't think that would be the case. You build one thing and everyone can use it, and that was just wrong. We're about 13 years old as a company, and especially in the last few years, we've grown a lot. Today, we've got over 1,000 employees. We've got offices in 18 countries. A few of those countries, the office is really like somebody's house, but I'm more on the dev and product side, and we're a pretty distributed company. We've got 6 of our offices where we actually have engineering and product people building Hudl features. And in addition to those 6 offices, a quarter of our product team is remote. They all work out of their house. So yeah, just really distributed. This is just a cool stat. I'm really proud of this. So like I said, American football is definitely our biggest market from a revenue perspective and market penetration perspective. And the way that works is every Friday night from mid-August through end of October, every high school team in the country plays a game. And they record it, and afterwards they upload that video to Hudl. And so for about 3 hours every Friday night for those months, we're ingesting 38 hours of video per minute, that's awesome. It's a lot of video. So that's kind of on the ingest side. Consuming and people watching the video, this year we will stream about 30 petabytes over our CDN, which the bulk of that is video. We've been with Sumo Logic for 4 years. Initially, one of the things that right off the gate we were really impressed with was the onboarding experience. We've got a pretty complex set of infrastructure. We've got Windows servers, we've got Linux servers. Our team estimated it would take about 2 weeks, and one of the few things that goes faster than planned, within a week we were fully moved over. From previously we were using Splunk, we're fully on Sumo. So great support, that was really important to us early on. We're definitely a very technical company, so it's not like we were needing tons and tons of support, but it was important that when we did reach out, turnaround time was quick and people wanted to help, and we've been real happy with that. High availability, Sumo's, I'm sure a lot of you, a pretty critical tool for us. And as I was putting these slides together, I just kind of realized yeah, we don't worry much about the availability of Sumo. It's just not a big concern, which is not true of all the tools that we use and that we really rely on at Hudl. And then the last is, the keynote this morning. Like there was tons of announcements. Like we love all the improvements that keep coming. Okay, so that's a bit about Hudl. Now, like I said, I'm just going to briefly talk about our system architecture. I would say partially because we are such a distributed, between 6 offices plus a lot of totally remote people, that pushed us towards microservices. We moved about 3 or 4 years ago. So this really simple diagram is kind of like a basic microservice at Hudl. So there's the web node, which is for us C#, .NET, and that is serving up web pages as well as API requests. Just about every microservice has a database. We use MongoDB, and then the ones that need it are using Redis for caching or Elasticsearch for search. The little dotted line around it is just saying we do shared nothing microservices, so they can't talk to each other's databases, they can't talk to each other's caches, they have to talk via APIs. Another way of just kind of looking at our architecture, underpinning everything, we've got this microservice architecture where if a team wants to build a new product or a new service, we can give them kind of a boilerplate service that has got all kinds of features and niceties that they can get up and running. And we've got a CI/CD pipeline, and then the worker farm is kind of a cool and really important part for us. We built it ourselves. When we first built it, we referred to it as our encode farm. Because basically, that was where we, within the cloud, would encode video. We'll accept video in a bunch of different formats, but we want to standardize everything. Over the years, today, teams have built out things where it's doing more than just video encoding, some machine learning, some actually audio analysis, stuff like that. The next layer up, we think we figured out how to build a sport agnostic, works across all sports layer. And some of that is definitely true. We've got some shared functionality. Every sport has the same activity feed when you use Hudl. We've got some features to manage your team, communicate and message. And so those are all just every sport gets the same thing. But we've also got a unified video ingest and encoding API. And we are working on a unified data schema. So no matter what sport, we can store the data in a similar format so that then we can run analytics on it, and it's easier for teams to build sport-specific features and reports and functionality on top of that unified data model. So then on top is like I said, we see each sport as its own separate market. For some sports, you can even slice it again where there is specific functionality that we've built for youth teams, which is different than the functionality for high school or maybe small colleges, which is, again, really different than what a professional team needs, right? They just have different needs, different levels of complexity that they are willing to and able to take on. About 70% of Sumo's customers, we're on AWS. Today, we're still just in the US East region as far as our API is concerned. So anywhere in the world, if you're using Hudl.com, you're hitting the US East region to serve up those HTTP requests. A few years ago, as we started to expand globally, we did start storing video in different regions. And that's basically because video is it's gigantic, and so it actually matters a lot having it closer to your customer from a performance perspective. And then more recently, we added that worker farm. We've got that deployed in a few different regions just so that we don't have to ship video back and forth as we're processing it. That was probably more of a cost savings than anything else. So that's Hudl and our architecture. Like I said, okay, now I'm going to talk about the actual topic of my presentation, how we use logs to help our customers. And it's kind of been sort of like a journey for us. So I broke it up into two parts. The very first use case where we trained our support team on Sumo Logic, and they were actually like every day using it. I would say that it helped us like maintain trust. I'll talk about what that means. And then as we got more advanced, we now have within our support team, there's like, we call it proactive support, where we try to basically, if we know that we're going to get a phone call or an email or a chat, we try to like reach out proactively, not make them come to us. So we see Hudl as a premium brand. Our brand is really important to us. We're not premium necessarily from a cost perspective, but we want, no matter how big or small your team is, we want Hudl to feel like just a great experience. It's a great tool, and it helps you do what you care about, which is coaching, or if you're an athlete, improving. So I'm going to talk to you about, just like give you kind of a sense of the diversity of our customers. So this is a small-ish high school, but we're going to pretend that this is a really small high school. The head coach is probably a teacher. They are a head coach. Maybe they get paid a little, maybe not. Even in the case of a really small school, they've got some helpers, probably volunteers, maybe other teachers, probably getting paid nothing. Like, this is just a part of, their life. Whereas I've been to a school in Texas, not even that big of a school. They have a full-time staff of 8 coaches. They're not teachers. All they do is coach football. And they were recruited from either professional or Division I colleges to coach at a high school. So there's quite a bit of difference. But one thing that all of our customers have in common is they're collaborating with some kind of shared content. So that may be video of a practice, video of a game, video of an opponent, reports. We have like our own presentation tools that it's largely a ripoff of like Google presentations, but slimmed down, and where video is like much more integrated. And coaches will spend hours and hours putting together presentations every week, sometimes multiple times per week, and either to teach their team about some new concept, reinforce something that they've already been learning about, or just get them like pumped up and ready for the next match. So I'm going to walk you through kind of a scenario that like I have taken this phone call, and we still see with some frequency for sure. So keeping in mind, that these teams are collaborating with shared content. Most of our customers are not super like technical, so our like permissioning system is really, really basic. Basically, if you're a coach, you've got full access to do whatever. So the call basically starts out with, some coach really frustrated, Hudl lost my presentation, Hudl lost my data. And I stayed up till 3 last night putting this together. It's now 7 in the morning, so I got no sleep or very little. And like, what's going on? How could you do this to me? Right, so this is pretty serious for us. They never say, I lost my presentation, or it's Hudl lost. And then like when I think about it, most of us have like had to present something to a group, and it's intimidating. But layer on top of that they're presenting to a bunch of high schoolers who are not the most mature, maybe, So like going up in front of them and saying, I lost my presentation, that's not gonna fly. So I know that we soft delete all of our stuff. We've got really generous grace periods before we would ever actually delete something. And I know, because I've taken this call, Hudl didn't lose their data. Another coach accidentally, almost always accidentally, deleted their presentation, whatever it was. But it's not enough to just say this probably happened. We've got just a little bit of time, because they don't want to be on the phone with us any longer than they have to help them out and to maintain that trust in our brand. So like I said, it's really, really simple, but it was one of the first ways that our support team used Sumo. They all learned how to search for deleted things. They know how to look up a team ID, and they know how to look for deleted playlist, deleted video, presentation, whatever. They would find it. That would give them enough information to both restore it. So, Carrie, who is the picture of the support person that I showed, she gets to tell the coach, hey, I found your presentation, I restored it. If you just hit refresh, you should see it. That's a huge win for our customer. He's relieved. He doesn't have to look like an idiot in front of a bunch of high school kids. But she can also say, hey, it looks like there's a Coach Fowler on your team. Yeah, he deleted it at exactly 6:32 this morning, right? It's really small, but we see that as really important, because coaching is a small world. They talk, and if anyone believes that Hudl's not trustworthy, that you can't rely on us, then that will quickly get out and be a big problem for us. Maybe a little bit less so now, but especially really early on. We're about 13 years old. We got started right around when cloud was coming up and internet-based software was not as accepted as it is now. So there was a lot of questions of just like, who's this Hudl? They're on the internet, you can't trust that. Yeah. So that was one of the first use cases for our support team. To talk about the more advanced stuff, I'm going to do just a little bit more history. Technology moves super fast. So this is basically when we started out, this is how people got video into Hudl. They'd go buy a camcorder from Best Buy. They'd buy this other thing that was like a video encoder that put wires together, another wire into the computer. We wrote some thick clients to help digitize it and cut up the video and upload it to our site. Then when smartphones and tablets came out, things got way simpler, right? We had an app. All they had to do now was put the thing on a tripod or just get somebody to agree to hold it up, maybe start and stop throughout. Where we see the industry going is actually fixed cameras that are installed in a gym, on a field. They know the team's schedule. Nobody has to do anything. Video just appears in your account. So that's kind of been a theme for Hudl over the years, of just make it easier and easier to get video into our system. Going back to where we started, because this is where we started doing proactive support. There are a lot of steps along here that can fail, and we are in control of very few of those steps, right? We wrote the thick client, but it runs on their computer. Maybe it was their personal computer, maybe it was a school computer, usually not all that powerful, multiple wires involved that could fail, and at the end of the day, coaches don't care. They don't want to hear that it was their school network administrator blocking us. We have this saying, we actually have it painted on the walls of our offices, just give me my damn video. That's kind of a mantra at Hudl, and when we think about all the cool features we could build, that helps remind us that, okay, but no matter what we do on top of it, if we can't just get them the damn video, it doesn't matter. So when things would fail along here, we wanted a way to, like I said, not make them reach out to us. We wanted to reach out to them. And in this case, the failures, we probably had to call. Maybe we could email them and say, check with your school network administrator. They might be blocking us. Or it could just be as simple as, I think maybe somebody closed the laptop before they went home last night. You're going to need to open that back up and hit start again. But it was really important. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but like most company support doesn't do that, right? If you get an email that's just like, hey, we noticed something went wrong and here's how you can fix it, that's fantastic. So it helped a lot. And the way that they did it initially was a couple people on our support team just happened to be a little more, technically adept. They got kind of interested and they built some saved searches. It just emailed them or maybe emailed a couple people on the team. They would come in the morning, look through these emails and start sending out canned, okay, this one was update their iOS app, so send that email. Today, some of these we've even got hooked up to like Lambdas. It's fully automated where we email customers. Some of them maybe it's a little more nuanced, or it could be a couple different ways to solve the problem where we still have to reach out. From these saved searches though, then they started building dashboards. This one was cool, super simple. It was one of the first ones that was built by our support team, and what it does is it looks for users who are deleting lots of things. There's a few different reasons. It could be that the coach got fired and they're really pissed off and they're going to show the school they haven't been removed from Hudl yet, so they're just going to delete everything. Or it could be, maybe a player and the coach were butting heads, and the coach again was pissed off, and so okay, I'm going to delete your highlights. So yeah, that helped them sort of spot that, and it's just like, okay, someone is deleting lots of things. We're probably going to have a problem. So let's just get on top of this quickly. Eventually they built much more complicated dashboards. So I don't know if you can read it, but this one says deploy status. This dashboard actually is used by our product team, but a few of the panels came from dashboards from our support team, because either like on the product team we didn't have our own alerts set up quite right, or basically support would notice that there were problems before we did, because they would get calls from customers, hey, Hudl's slow, or it's taking forever, where's my video? It let them, number one, when actually everything was fine and there was something more on the customer side, talk them through like, nope, our system is doing fine. It's not that, so let's talk about maybe what it could be. Other times you'd be like, yep, coach, we're seeing it too. We've already notified the product team. And then eventually we fixed our alerts. We improved our dashboard, so we actually for a while tracked how often was this issue, did we learn about it from support? And it's been a little while since that has happened, so that's good. But yeah, it was cool to see. Like I said, we trained everyone on our team on how to run those basic searches. The growth from there, though, it really was pretty organic. A few of the people who built some of this stuff out, they've actually transitioned onto the product team. They're engineers now. But in the meantime, our support department is awesome. Like, we regularly get great feedback from coaches, and we see that as part of our competitive advantage at this point. So talk to you about how we initially started using Sumo on our team, and then how it kind of advanced from there. My goal is, is to basically give you ideas, like maybe you can take this back to where you work, and maybe there's something that your support team can do, or maybe it's worth training up some people on support on, whatever ways that logs can help your customers. It's, like I said, it's been really impactful for Hudl, and at this point we see support as a competitive advantage. So thank you.
If you guys have any questions, I have the mic here. I'll pass it around. In the back.
Hey John, is the support team making use of like templated searches at all? Are you guys using interactive dashboards? Because I imagine some of those folks are not as technical as the couple innovators on the team.
I don't know. That came out. It wasn't too long ago that came out. So yeah, for a long time I know for sure they were not. It's possible they are, but I'm not certain.
Any other questions?
So all of your devices, mobile devices, the apps must be logging a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ingest all of those things into Sumo Logic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We also ingest like all of our test infrastructure, so like our test servers and all that stuff, and we ingest that as well.
So just a follow-up question. So basically, say if the number of apps or the number of customers scale by 10x, so what are the difficulties, or do you see any? Do you want to log all of the data into Sumo Logic, or do you see something out there?
Yeah, I would say like it does kind of depend on what the data is, and we actually see that.
Okay.
Like I said, American football is our biggest, so from the start of August till the end of August, our traffic does actually increase around 10 to 15 x. So it's a huge increase. We don't change anything just for that, but we have changed some things to like, okay, we're just going to sample. But a lot of our logs, we just see it as, well, we got more customers, so we're getting more revenue, so that's funding the logs.
Thanks.
Yeah.
John, I actually do have a question for you. So I am curious to know how, the questions that customers ask about the video that's stored and the analysis that you do on that video.
Mm-hmm.
So in football, everything's about schemas, right? And, formations and so forth. Like, do they ask, like, how other high schools are doing things? And, do you provide them with that information?
Yeah. Let's see. So they definitely ask. Usually they're not asking us, though. Like I said, coaching with any sport is kind of a small world. So they talk to each other quite a bit. One just kind of interesting area where that's not the case is there's rules in each state that say you have to exchange video. The basic idea is they didn't want the richer schools to have this advantage where they could send people out to film, everyone that they're going to go up against that season, but maybe a poorer school who can't afford to do that is at a disadvantage. So before Hudl, coaches on Saturday or Sunday morning, they'd each drive halfway. They'd each bring a little DVD player or some way to watch it because they didn't trust each other at all. And they had good reason to. If you didn't bring that and people knew that you weren't going to do that, they would smear Vaseline on the camera. They would they'd have two people film, one for them and one that's blurry. So we built this escrow exchange tool so that they both, put their video up into the system. You get to randomly watch 5 clips, so that way they couldn't game it, or is less likely to be able to game it. And then when both of them said, okay, I'm happy with this, then they both got it. So it saved a lot of drive time. We probably didn't hurt McDonald's business really because it's not that many, but way fewer McMuffins sold on Saturday, Sunday morning.
Right. So John will be available for questions on the side here.